Evolution of Spider-Man. Before Spider-Man ever swung across a TV screen, he was engineered to be different from the superhero standard. In the early days, most heroes were built like untouchable icons, bigger than life, always in control, basically finished products the moment they debuted. Spider-Man flips that idea. He's awkward, broke, and constantly anxious that his normal life is about to fall apart. The superpower is flashy, but the secret sauce is that the person under the mask feels like someone real people could actually be. That's why his origin hits so hard. Peter Parker gets powers, tries to cash in, and then learns the lesson that becomes the entire franchise's spine. With great power comes great responsibility. From that point forward, Spider-Man isn't just about winning fights. It's about consequences. Every era you're about to see, every suit, every actor, every animation style, still circles back to that one idea. Spider-Man's gifts don't solve Peter's problems, they multiply them. And once the character explodes on the page, the next step is inevitable. If readers can picture him swinging, TV networks are going to try putting that motion on screen. 1967, the first cartoon swing. Spider-Man's first major on-screen era begins in animation, with the 1967 Spider-Man series making him a weekly TV hero. The animation is famously limited, but that almost becomes part of its identity. Simple motion, recycled shots, and bold comic-style staging that still communicates the fantasy. This kid can climb anything, dodge anything, and talk his way through danger with pure attitude. What really matters is the cultural lock-in. This show plants Spider-Man's basic screen language into the public's mind. The look of the mask, the web-swinging rhythm, the idea that New York can feel like a playground and a battlefield at the same time, and of course a theme song that turns him into instant pop culture. Even when later seasons face heavy budget cuts and change hands in production, the character remains recognizable because the concept is just that strong. This is the moment Spider-Man stops being only a Marvel success and becomes a mass media character, one that can survive different budgets, different teams, and different eras, as long as the mask keeps moving. 1974, Spidey shows up in live action. By 1974, Spider-Man makes a surprisingly important leap. He starts appearing in live action on the educational kids series, The Electric Company, in recurring segments called Spidey Super Stories. This version is intentionally simple. Spider-Man stays masked, doesn't talk out loud, and communicates through on-screen speech bubbles. Because the goal isn't gritty realism, it's helping kids follow stories and read along. But in terms of evolution, this is huge. It proves Spider-Man's visual identity alone is powerful enough to carry live-action storytelling, even without movie-level stunts or deep lore. And it quietly sets the stage for what comes next. Once audiences accept a live-action Spider-Man, even in short segments, primetime television is going to want its own full series. 1977, primetime Spider-Man takes a swing. That next step arrives in 1977 with the Amazing Spider-Man live-action television series, which airs on CBS from 1977 to 1979. The show is an action-adventure take that focuses on Peter Parker's dual identity struggles. But because of TV limitations at the time, the threats often skew more grounded. Criminals, conspiracies, and week-to-week danger instead of comic-accurate supervillain spectacle every episode. Even so, it becomes a key checkpoint. Spider-Man is now proven as a character that can headline live-action long-form stories, not just cameo in shorts or cartoons. And right around this same late 70s period, Spider-Man's evolution takes one of its wildest turns overseas. Japan reimagines him in a way nobody would have predicted. 1978. Japan reinvents Spider-Man. In 1978, Spider-Man swings into one of the most unexpected chapters of his entire screen evolution. The Japanese live-action series produced by Toei. Instead of Peter Parker, this version reimagines Spider-Man as Takuya Yamashiro, a young motorcycle racer who gains spider powers through a sci-fi setup and becomes a full tokusatsu-style hero. And this is where Spider-Man goes from street-level wall crawler to something completely different. Because this series gives him a transforming robot, Leopardon, and turns the show into giant monster weekly dash battle entertainment. The reason it matters isn't comic accuracy, it's proof of flexibility. Spider-Man can survive radical reinvention across cultures and still be instantly recognizable as Spider-Man through the suit, powers, and heroic role. 1981. 80s cartoons expand the Spider brand. By 1981, Spider-Man's evolution swings back toward animation in a major way, with new shows designed to keep him constantly visible on TV and to pull audiences back toward more comic-style stories and villains. This era also pushes Spider-Man into more network-friendly formats, including team-up energy and crossover-ready storytelling, basically positioning him as a reliable centerpiece in the larger Marvel animation lineup of the 80s. The big shift is that Spider-Man stops being a single iconic cartoon from the 60s and becomes a repeatable TV property. Refresh the style, tweak the premise, keep the character present every few years, and new kids adopt him as their Spider-Man. And once the 80s establish that pattern, the 90s are about to take it further. Bigger continuity, bigger drama, and a version many fans still call the gold standard. 1994. The 90s cartoon becomes a legend. In 1994, Spider-Man hits a new peak on television with the Fox Kids animated series Spider-Man. And this is where the character's screen storytelling starts feeling bigger, more connected, and more comic book intense than most kids' shows were willing to be. Instead of treating Spider-Man like a simple monster of the week hero, this series leans into ongoing drama. Peter's personal life, his responsibility theme, and threats that don't just vanish the moment the credits roll. It also pulls heavily from the comics with iconic villain energy, and your reference script specifically highlights how important it was to finally bring major elements like Venom into a long-form animated adaptation. For a lot of fans, this becomes the measuring stick. If a new Spider-Man show doesn't nail Peter's stress, the moral pressure, and the feeling of a world that keeps escalating, it doesn't feel like real Spider-Man. 1999 to 2004, the leap from TV to blockbuster. After the 90s run ends, 1999 brings Spider-Man Unlimited, which experiments with a cyberpunk alternate world setup and a redesigned suit, showing that studios are still testing how far Spider-Man can stretch while staying recognizable. But the real evolution shift comes in 2002, when Spider-Man finally detonates at the box office with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, locking him in as a modern movie icon and proving superhero films can feel massive, sincere, and culturally unavoidable. Then 2004's Spider-Man 2 deepens the formula. It's not just about cooler action. Peter's emotional cost becomes the story, and the movie era starts treating Spider-Man like a character drama disguised as spectacle. By this point, Spider-Man isn't only one of the most adapted heroes anymore. He becomes the hero that studios use as the blueprint for what a successful superhero franchise is supposed to look like. 2007 to 2014, the franchise resets and reloads. 2007's Spider-Man 3 is the moment the Raimi era reaches maximum scale. Multiple villains, the black suit, bigger spectacle. And it shows what happens when Spider-Man's popularity becomes so huge that the story starts carrying franchise-level expectations on its back. Even when opinions split, this era confirms something important. Audiences will keep showing up for Spider-Man because they're attached to the character's core more than any single creative choice. Then animation steps up again with The Spectacular Spider-Man, 2008, a series your reference script calls out as a modern hit that blends high school life, classic villain arcs, and a clean contemporary style, only to end early, which is why it's remembered as one of the great "What If It Continued" Spider-Man stories. After that, the live-action side hits reset again in 2012, with The Amazing Spider-Man, shifting tone, modernizing the vibe, and trying to rebuild Spider-Man for a new generation. Then doubling down with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 2014, which goes bigger but ends up pushing the franchise toward yet another major strategy change. 2015 to 2026. MCU era, Spider-Verse era, and brand new day. The mid-2000s become Spider-Man's shared universe turning point, because Sony and Disney work out a deal that finally allows Spider-Man to fully enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe, leading into a run where he's a younger, faster-talking Spider-Man, surrounded by larger-than-life heroes while still trying to stay a normal kid. At the same time, animation evolves Spider-Man in a totally different direction. Into the Spider-Verse turns Spider-Man into a multiversal idea. Miles Morales, alternate Spider-People, and a visual style that makes Spider-Man feel like a moving comic book, proving the character can dominate multiple formats at once. Then 2021's Spider-Man. No Way Home becomes the ultimate legacy payoff, smashing different live-action eras together and turning Spider-Man's entire screen history into the story itself, basically confirming that Spider-Man is now a character with multiple generations living side by side. And now the evolution continues into the next chapter. Marvel's official movie page lists Spider-Man, brand new day with a release date of July 31st, 2026, setting up Spider-Man's next big screen era after all the multiverse chaos.